Here's something anybody can do with the proper tools to a problem that has just plagued all modern cars with plastic lenses, which is probably the past 10 years, is how the lenses degrade over time and the UV coating fails and you get deterioration of the exterior. So let me show you this with better lighting. I'm going to kill the overheads. And as you can see right across here, it's all degraded. And if I put this light on it, and you even see it just gets amplified. So this area right here is showing the deterioration. The whole lens's UV has failed because of just pollution and sun, even though this is a garage queen. They just fail. This is a 14-year-old Audi. But I'm going to show you how to fix this. If this is really bad, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to polish it, but if this is really bad and your lenses are really showing age, you can wet sand them. And if you think about treating the plastic lenses just like you would paint, you can go and do a wet sanding with good quality sandpapers. Always start with the least aggressive and work your way up to the most aggressive to get rid of your problem. But for something that's this bad, I'm probably just going to get by with a polish. But if they're rougher, I would start with 1,000 and then move to either 1,500, if you can find it, 2,000. So you want to progressively move to a finer grain, and you're always going to have to finish polishing, which would be the next step. So if they're really bad and you want to bring new life to your car, the front end of your car, you could even go 800 as a starting point. And take your time, don't go too deep, just get the blemishes out and then work your way up to at least 1,500. If you can, go to 2,000 if you can find it. Some other tools you're going to need to do this right is a polisher. Now you can use the ones attached to a drill and all of that in case you don't have one, in case you don't have the preferred tool, which is an orbital polisher. This one happens to be a Grios. I have several different polishers. This one's good for this kind of job because it's not too big, it's not too heavy. This is a 5-inch pad, and as you can see, it's a little too big for this job because it's kind of fills the whole lens, and you can have some problems. So as an alternative, for the tight spots, I'll be doing some work potentially with a 3-inch pad. And this happens to be on my Porter cable. This is the oldest polisher I have, also an orbital. But as you can see, this really gets up into the fine areas, the corners, a lot better. So 2 weapons of choice, a 5-inch pad or 6-inch pad sometimes, and the 3-inch pad. Between the two of these, should be able to polish this lens to absolute clarity to look like it came from the factory. That addresses the tool to use. The orbital polisher is the best, or the drill mount. Next you got to worry about is the polish you're going to use. And I've been through a lot of different ones, and the domestics, etc. But I really prefer for the rough cut, for the initial cut, Menzerna 400. It's a heavy-duty compound that finishes fairly decently. So that's your first step in the polishing. Your next step is a fine polish. You're unlikely to get away with a single-step polish, but it's possible. So anyway, I prefer a 2-step. The Sonic's Fine Line, the Perfect Finish, is just an outstanding finishing polisher in my opinion. There are others out there that, and folks might prefer some of the other brands, including Meguiar's. This is the Cut. This is the 105. You could use this and follow it with like 205, and you'll get very, very similar results and be happy. Nothing wrong with whatever polish you want to use. This isn't a show car, so either one would be fine. Any good, decent brand will be fine. Okay, to get started, let's get the hood up and out of the way to allow you more access to this top edge. First things first, let's mask this bad boy off. Pretty standard supply, because what you don't want to do is burn an edge of your paint, because then you'll really be upset with even bothering with this process. What I'm doing is trying to get it right underneath the lens and then onto the bumper cover. This doesn't have to be perfect. You're not painting the car. The reason we're doing this is you're going to take your buffer and you're going to come right here, and then if you go and hit this edge or that point too much, you're going to burn right through the paint, because this is where the paint is at its thinnest. Good enough. Important first step is to get this as clean as possible. Quick detailer's fine, or do this right after you wash the car, but you don't want any dirt or dust or anything to scratch the lens as you wipe it and polish it. So probably would have been a better idea to do this before taping it off, but that's okay. It's not that big of a deal. And then what's fun to do in these situations to demo what we're doing here is to section off the work area. So I'm going to just throw a piece of tape right here, and we will be able to compare one side to the other. Since this is a brand new pad, I'm going to primer it, and all that means is get some moisture on it. So 1, maybe 2 light squirts of any sort of detailing spray, or even deionized water. Distilled water would be great. And now we're going to start with the Menzerna, which is the heavier cut, and just going to put a small amount of cutting, and you don't really need much more than that. And we'll start slow, and we'll go from there. So I'm going to start off at, I'm going to start off around 2 and then work my way up to about 5. Okay, spread. I'm going to pick up the speed. Work the product in really well, and now you just wipe it off. That's one pass, okay? And you might not pick it up on the camera, but you look at this versus this, significantly better here. And for fun, we'll do that, and you should be able to see a decent separation after just one pass. I want more clarity than this. I'm going to hit it again with the same products. So let's go for the second pass. Same deal. A couple of 3 small pea size. That's all you need. You don't need a lot of compound. I like to spread it around like this first. And then while the tool is on the surface, you start it at a slow speed. 2 passes, much clearer. Now let's look at the difference between the two sides after just 2 passes with more controlled lighting. You can see how this side is much clearer than this side. And that was just after 2 passes with the heavy compound. This isn't perfect because the car is 14 years old. And one day I'm going to have to refinish these completely by respraying them. But for today, I just wanted to get it back to life looking decent. That might be the best way to do this. Hopefully you see that in the camera. So now that I'm happy with this side, it's decent enough with the rough compound. I'll go back and finish this side with the second polish, with the finer polish. But let me go ahead and get this whole lens even. So I'm going to hit it again with the heavier compound and go ahead and clean up the whole lens. So again, spread it. This is my technique. Everybody's a little different, but this way it doesn't get slung all over the place. Start off slow speed, 2.5, it's fine. And start it on the work area so it doesn't sling around, and work it in. Work it into the product, work it into the work area, and then increase the speed. Wipe off the compound, 1 pass. I still see a lot of discoloration, pitting of that lens. So of course I'm going to hit that again. I may even have to hit it 3 times. Just got to keep going until you get it to where you want it. Better, but still, I still see a hazing here that is getting better. This lens was really close to being needed to be wet sanded. You know, maybe I'll do the other one. Will I wet sand the other one? Probably not. I'll just keep doing this. The reason being is I'm going to have to repaint these. I'm going to do a 2-stage clear coat on here eventually. But for today, again, like I said earlier, today, just let's get them looking decent so it freshens up the front end of this car. Now we're moving on to the fine polish. And of course, you have to change pads. You can't use the same contaminated pad with the heavy polish because it won't finish properly. It will move around the residual rough polish and you won't get the fine clarity that you're looking for. So with a new pad, primer, just enough to keep it just damp. And moving on to, again, my favorite finishing polish at the moment, Sonic's Perfect Finish. Let's go ahead and put the small dabs of the Perfect Finish. Whoops, that's way too much, so I'm going to spread that around. That's all you need. Start at a slow speed, 2.5 works for me. And I'll go up to about 4.5 or 5. Spread it out. Get up here. Corners as best I can. Okay. There we go. It's starting to dry, get thin. That's good. Pick up the speed. Let's see how 1 pass came out. Okay. brings out more clarity to the lens. It's not uncommon to do another coat, to do two coats of, I should say two passes of the finishing polish either. But like I can see inside the housing much clearer. It just has more of a clarity to it. Again, 14 years old, brings new life to the front end of the car. Is it perfect? No, because these lenses are overdue to be painted with a new clear coat. I'll do that at some other time. But for today, this looks pretty good. I'll do one more pass, clean it all off, and then move on to the next one. So using the same lighting technique on the polished lens, much more clarity. You can see inside the housing a lot better. There's some blemishes still, but it's significantly better than what it was before. And you can just see the detail inside the housing just so much better. We'll go back and look at the other one. Nice close-up detail like this. So, not nearly the clarity of the other side. Again, fixable. Let's get busy. Okay, finished both sides. They're looking pretty good. Got some clarity to it. Now the next thing to do is to protect this as best you can from the UV sun because it just kills these lenses. So this is a product that I use on the paint. I've been using it for a while. Sonics, again, they make great products. Polymer net shield, commonly referred to as PNS. Pretty straightforward. What I like about this is just how easy it is to use. Use a nice microfiber soft, and it's just spraying everywhere, so I got a clogged nozzle. That's probably way too much, but you want to, yeah, that's way too much material. So I'm going to spread it and then take it off immediately. But you just want a thin application of it, and it's this polymer that uses this bonding strategy, and there's a chemical reaction to the surface. Get that off of there. And what's so nice about this is it's so easy. I'm going to go ahead and go do the other side. Just let this dry just for a few minutes and then buff it off. Okay, clean microfiber. This hasn't been on here but for 3 minutes tops. It's not like an old wax where you have to let it cloud up and dry. You just kind of put it on and take it off almost immediately. Or buff it. So it's staying on there and just grabbing onto the surfaces with that polymer bind. And that's it. Done. That's good for 6 months. Car's in pretty good shape. Try to take care of her. And after a bit of work, got these lenses in much better shape than when they were when I started. So not too bad. Some clarity in that lens. Is it perfect? No. There's plenty of little flaws the camera may not even pick up. But I'm happy enough. Took years off the front end of the car. It's looking pretty good now. Hope this helps somebody.